Hi, everyone. If you're listening to this podcast, then you probably live in or near Toronto. Now, that probably means that you live in Southern Ontario, but it could mean that you live in Prince Edward Island. You could be from Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, or several other states that don't even begin with an I. You could live in Australia or England. You could even be from the asteroid belt between Jupiter and Mars. Incidentally, if you do come from the asteroid belt, please send us an email. We would really like to hear from you. Yes, there are a host of different places called Toronto, and we're going to be talking about them on this special bonus episode of Muddy York. I'm Adam Weiser.
And I'm Grayson Miller, and this is Muddy York.
There are two places called Toronto in Canada, one in Ontario and one in the Maritimes. Toronto PEI is near the North Shore in the central part of the island. It was originally known as Martin because the local postmaster was named Moses Martin. It was renamed Toronto in 1966, and nobody seems to know why. There are exactly 21 addresses that say Toronto PEI, so if you have one of these addresses, you're an exclusive company.
South of the border, Toronto, Ohio is the only other city in the world named Toronto. The other communities that we're going to talk about are towns or villages. The city was named Toronto in 1881 because a local businessman came from Toronto, Ontario, and said it was, quote, a place worth emulating. The world's first titanium mill opened there in 1957, and the Titanium Metals Corporation is still the main employer in town. Toronto's other claim to fame is that it was the hometown of Robert Urich. That won't mean anything to most of our listeners, but it was a big deal during the 70s.
Toronto, Indiana doesn't exist anymore, and that's probably a good thing because it avoids conflicted loyalties anytime the Raptors play the Pacers.
Toronto, Illinois was a rural community originally built around a train stop about 6 miles south of the state capital of Springfield. However, during the 60s, the University of Illinois at Springfield was built a mile and a half away. Since then, Toronto has become a campus neighborhood, and most of the community has been annexed by the city of Springfield.
Toronto, Iowa got its name from George Thorne, who was raised in Toronto, Ontario, and built the first sawmill in town. When I asked a local for an interesting fact about her community, she said it had a population of 102.
Toronto, Missouri is an unincorporated community, which means that it doesn't have any formal status. The most notable thing about it is that it's located just 4 miles away from Montreal, Missouri. These names are supposed to have come from Canadian settlers, but that's really just a guess.
Toronto, Kansas is located right next to Toronto Lake, which is a man-made lake that was created for flood control, but also became a part of Cross Timbers State Park. The town had a short oil boom during the 1920s, but today the population is just 206.
Toronto, South Dakota had a brief moment of fame when Extreme Makeover Home Edition built a new home there for a girl who needed 4 open heart surgeries before the age of 12.
Toronto, Texas was located near the summit of a mountain pass that the Galveston, Harrisburg, and San Antonio Railroad ran through. Officially, the town name came from an Indian word meaning rising land, and this was said to be the highest land that the railroad ran through between Texas and Oregon. Up to 100 people lived there, working for the railroad and operating a rock crusher that could pulverize 25 carloads of ore for use as ballast. But eventually the railroad closed down the operation and the town was abandoned.
Toronto, Australia is located in New South Wales, about 140 kilometers north of Sydney. It is the second largest community named Toronto with a population of 5,973. It was built on a peninsula jutting out of the shore, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, but the shore of Lake McCackery by the Excelsior Land Investment and Build Company and Bank Limited. They really wanted to cover their bases. It's a very long, crazy name, but that's the name. Lake McCackery by Excelsior Land Investment and Build Company and Bank Limited. Okay. It was named in honor of Toronto native Ned Hanlon, a world champion rower at the time when that was a big deal. He had just visited Australia and the company wanted to ride the publicity from that event. Apparently, the part of the community along the lake is supposed to be nice, but Toronto West has a local reputation for being something of a slum.
Toronto, England, is a village in County Durham, which is in the north part of the country. A landowner from Durham was visiting Toronto, Ontario, when he learned that coal had been discovered on his land. He decided to call the mine Toronto, and that's where the village got its name. The Toronto coal mine would operate from 1859 to 1967. The current village of Toronto has traditional British brick terraced housing. If you've ever seen British dramas about life in the working classes, it looks exactly like that.
Our final stop on the tour of Toronto is 2104 Toronto, a metallic asteroid from the outer reaches of the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It got that name because it was a discovery by a U of T observatory. 2104 Toronto orbits the Sun every 5 years and 8 months. However, due to traffic and construction delays, you should probably expect that to take closer to 6 years. Little Toronto joke.
And those are the other places named Toronto. We'd like to thank you for dropping in on this short little bonus episode. We will be back in about a week and a half, and our next episode in preparation for Remembrance Day will be about Toronto's experience during World War I. We hope you'll be back then.